What's up, good people of the world? Welcome back to the Contractor Secrets Podcast. If you were one of those individuals that joined us at Contractor Impact, I want to say thank you. And more importantly, I want to congratulate you on being the top 1%. We had 1,300 business owners click the opt-in button. In other words, they went to the landing page, they looked at the speakers, they felt the feeling of, hey, this might have some value that I could implement in my business. And guess what? On average, we only had 300 people really truly show up. And I'd say about 100 to 125, 150 stayed for the duration of the event. And really, what does that mean? Well, ultimately, that means that motivation can only take you so far. Okay. Is action is the secret. Okay. Take an action. And that leads me to give you three important principles to help you take your business and your life to the next level. If you're new here, you don't know about me. My name's Tanner Mullen. I'm the proud founder of Drip Jobs, which is a CRM automation platform for home service businesses. But I'm also the proud owner of Premium Painting, a residential house painting service here in Central Florida. And what I believe to be one of the most important aspects of business is leadership. And what we're going to discuss today are three leadership principles for you to help get you to the next level. So, with that said, let's dive in. Leadership principle number one is ultimately all about you. It's about keeping the promises you make to yourself. This is something that you really need to focus on. I'm guilty of breaking the promises that I make to myself. And ultimately, this happened a lot early on, specifically when I was an employee. I was working a 9 to 5. Ultimately, any decision I made really only affected myself. And when you decided to file for that LLC and you decided to take the leap, start your own business, ultimately you said to the world, hey, guess what? I no longer am the most important here. I am intending to serve. Now, when you decide to serve the marketplace, serve employees, guess what? Every single decision you make will either affect the outcome that your customers receive or the experience that your employees have, which ultimately leads to either a prosperous business or a business that ultimately is built on what I believe to be a sand foundation. In other words, it's not built strong enough to last. Okay. So, keeping the promises you make to yourself, what does that really mean? Well, first, you need to make promises to yourself. This is really important to help you build confidence as a leader. Generally speaking, those promises are in a few different categories: health, finances, and relationships. Okay, so health, finances, and relationships. And you should have standards of how those areas or how you interact with those areas in your life. Ultimately, let me give you an example. If you're setting a goal to save $1,000, right? But you keep spending money on things that don't help you achieve that goal. Maybe you go out to eat too much, or maybe you buy a video game, or maybe you purchase something that really has no value other than maybe a small feeling of satisfaction. Ultimately, what you're doing is you're not keeping the promise that you made to yourself to save the $1,000. And here's the deal: it's not the $1,000. You're setting that intention to have $1,000 in your bank account. But ultimately, what you're doing is you're pretty much telling yourself that the $1,000 is the metric, but how I get there is what the real beauty is, right? The discipline involved to get there is what matters. Saving that first $1,000, ultimately, the discipline that's created in getting to that $1,000, it's what's going to carry you to get to that 2,000, to get to that 3,000, to get to that 4,000, and all of the things you need to say no to. There's a successful entrepreneur that really made it clear that sometimes it's not saying yes to things that'll help us get to our goal. It's all of the no's we have to say, to get to our goal. So I'm in the middle of keeping a big promise to myself. My goal is to run 100 miles this month. Now, I can tell you firsthand, I am 6 days into it, and every morning I wake up and my first thought is sleep in. My first thought is this bed is so comfortable. My first thought is my body's tired. I don't want to do it. But because I'm creating a goal that ultimately is really just the North Star, is really just the lighthouse, the the path to get there is where the character is going to be built. And it's me keeping the promise to myself that I'm going to do it. It's saying no to sleeping in. It's saying no to buying into give yourself a break, give yourself a rest, because ultimately I want to feel the feeling of what it'll be to see 100 miles on my Nike running app at the end of the month. But guess what? That's not going to be the victory. The victory is really how I'm going to look, how I'm going to feel. And ultimately, fact of the matter is keeping the promise to myself. Because what I've learned in life and business is that if you can't keep a promise to yourself, how can you keep a promise to your employees? How can you keep a promise to your customers? It's very difficult to do that. And ultimately, both of those individuals, customers and employees, will see right through you. So be a person of integrity. One of my favorite words in the dictionary is integrity, and that's about being integral. It's ultimately it's the uniformity of what you say, what you think, and what you do. That's what's being integral. That means you're integrated, you're connected. So again, the first most important thing is to keep the promises you make to yourself. But I believe that it's not simply just living life at a low energy, a low standard. It's setting goals that force you to continue to evolve as a person and a leader. Ultimately, what I believe is that the standard of which you operate your life will be the standard of your relationships and your business. So if you're an individual that isn't too big on working out or isn't too big on setting financial goals or setting relational goals, then my suggestion to you is to start, because ultimately it will pour into every area of your life. There could be some of you out there struggling in business, or maybe you're just starting in business, but the other areas of your life aren't in order. In other words, your health isn't in order. Maybe your relationships aren't in order. Maybe your finances are all over the place. I've coached enough people to know that generally speaking, most people suck at managing their money. And that's simply because they say yes to things that they shouldn't. And ultimately, a sound business owner has a good financial relationship with money. And that means that there's a mutual respect. That means that, the money isn't wasted. It was earned, and it's going to be saved and invested appropriately. So again, my first point of success, and again, this is so important, is to keep the promises that you make to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. No one will know. But also, being integral is having integrity. And from my understanding, having integrity is being a person of strong character when no one is looking. And if you're constantly lying to yourself, if you're telling yourself you're going to do something and you're not following through, that's just going to show its face somewhere. And you don't want it to be with your employees, and you don't want it to be with your business relationships. Next, number 2, you are the standard. Being the standard is so important. There's been so many times where everyone under me wanted to take shortcuts. There's been situations where clearly had an opportunity to get away with one in business. And I think we've all been faced with this. Some of you will be faced with this today. Maybe shortcutting through a walkthrough with a customer, or maybe compromising on product, or compromising on scope of work because maybe you underbid the job, or whatever that is. And your team will question you, and they'll say, hey, can we get away with this one? Or, hey, how about we just do one coat here? Or how about we just, I don't know, skip out on doing this portion of the project? Well, guess what? Ultimately, you have to understand that your team is looking to you to see what decision you're going to make. Your team is looking to you to see, are you going to compromise? Because if you say it's okay, that means that I say it's okay. And for me, I stopped being a boss a long time ago, a very long time ago. I started being a leader. And ultimately, people need to be led. They need to be shown what the right path is. I build my business in such a way that my teammates understand that my first priority is to making sure that we are doing projects with integrity. My first priority is to make sure that we are doing projects with honor. My first priority is to make sure that we are fulfilling our promises as a business, because without those as our North Star, we are not going to be able to succeed in business. We won't have a long-standing business. Ultimately, that nasty behavior will rear its ugly head at some point, and Rome will fall. Okay, so for me, it's about honesty, integrity, and it doesn't matter. We're not compromising our values for a short-term gain. okay? Short-term gain. And guess where that comes from? Let's go back to number one. That comes from having a strong moral compass as an individual first, because that's my standard in my personal life. So I'm not going to let, of course, that standard be compromised in my business relationships. And there's a lot of instances where you as a business owner have to look yourself in the mirror and say, am I doing what's right by my team? And there's been instances where if I've coached people that won't get a payroll service, they won't set their team up properly financially because the way that the business owner sees it is, well, I'm saving money. Well, is that really in the best interest for your team? Are you really looking out for them when they don't get a pay stub? And ultimately what happens is they go to rent an apartment, or they go to want to purchase a vehicle and they have no way to prove their income because you wanted to save some money on taxes. What kind of business is that? What kind of leadership is that? And this might be a tough thing to listen to. Maybe you're thinking, I want to shut this off right now. I don't want to hear this. Well, no one's going to tell you because you're a business owner and ultimately you're used to calling the shots. But the best business owners are coachable. The best business owners listen when they need to listen and act when they need to act. Those are the ones that get to the next level. So if you made it through that little segment there and you're the type of individual right now who hasn't set up their business the right way and it's compromising your integrity, it's compromising the honesty portion of your business, guess what? I'm proud of you for listening through that. But make the change. Okay, it's important. If you need to do what's right by your team, do what's right by your team. It'll always come full circle. So number two is you set the standard. And I want you to know this. Your people are watching. The people that you employ are watching how you conduct yourself, because whatever your standard is will be the standard of the company. Okay, ultimately, you have to understand that an employee is only going to do what an employee is asked to do. And guess what? What they're going to teach people that come into your business is the shortcuts, okay, that you've allowed. No shortcuts. Always do things the right way. Operate with honor. Operate with integrity. Make sure that your team understands that you won't allow it, that they'll have to go back and take care of it, because at the end of the day, it's not about the money. It's about the impact. It's about being honest and integral. I can tell you right now, I've been operating this way since I started my business. And 8 years in, we are just flooded with leads from people that hear about our quality of work, hear about our standard, hear about what we represent, because ultimately we are the safe choice in our area for the service that we provide, simply because time after time after time after time after time again, we deliver on the results. You can go look up our reviews. If you really want to understand what happens when a company operates with high integrity, high standards, go look up Premium Painting Ocala reviews. Okay, I want you to see what we represent, how we operate. Okay, it's important for you to understand that at the end of the day, this could be the reality for you. This could be an opportunity for you to win. Okay, as long as you have a high standard of how you operate as an individual first. Second, how you operate as a business owner and a leader. And guess what? These things coincide with one another. So remember, your team is watching your every move. Make sure it counts. And it would be the same thing if you had children. What are your children seeing? I'm a father, so I am qualified to talk to you about this topic. Is ultimately, what do you want them to see? Maybe you grew up in a household where the person that, or the people that were in charge of you, compromised in some way. They showed you their shortcuts. They showed you their shortcomings. And what did that do? That gave you permission to operate that way. And I want my children to see what high standard looks like. I want my kids to look over at the area where I sleep in the bed, and I want them to see Dad's not here in the morning. Where's he at? He's taking care of his health. He's taking care of his business. He's taking care of his responsibilities. I want them to not see their dad sleeping in at 10 a.m. I want them to not see their dad playing video games, okay? I want them to see their dad leading their family. I don't want them to see struggle, okay? That is my standard, because I grew up around it. I grew up around struggle. I grew up around poverty. I grew up around fear. I grew up around anxiety. I grew up around the phone ringing with bill collectors. I don't know, maybe you guys used to have your parents tell you don't answer the phone if it's an 800 number, because they're collecting for bills. I remember that there were, I used to have a football game. It would be Friday night football game the next day, and Thursday our electric would be shut off, and I used to have to call one of my teammates so I could stay the night at their house so I could get a good night's sleep before our football game. So I remember what it feels like to live in an environment controlled by someone with a low standard. Okay, no disrespect to my parents, they did the best they could, but they had a choice. And maybe you have a choice. Maybe you're lacking in some areas that you need some refinement in. Last but not least, success is a result. It's not a pursuit. And it took me a little while to understand this. My whole life growing up, I always wanted success. Like it was like success, success, success. Early on, even when I was 16, as soon as I could work, I was like, I'm going to make something of myself. And ultimately, what I recognized is that success is an illusion. This is a commoditized word. Success can be defined by many things. It's certainly not defined by money. Money is also a result of the success, and success is a result in and of itself. Let me break down what I believe success is. I believe success is waking up each day and pursuing being 1% better. And I can't put it any other way. Ultimately, if that's just your focus, then you'll win. And it's the same focus I apply in premium painting. It's the same focus I apply in drip jobs. We just try to refine one thing in drip jobs. We just want to refine one process. We just want to refine one feature. We just want to fix one bug. We just want to update one element of that software each day. There's always improvement. And guess what? It's the same thing in premium painting. We maybe want to make one tweak in the way that we do our pricing, or we want to maybe make one tweak in the way that we complete a job. And guess what? It's not so much making the changes. It's the leader having the standard to want to make the changes. It's the leader having the standard to want to make micro improvements in the business for a greater result for their customers, for a greater organization for their employees. And guess what might happen if you haven't experienced this? You might find that there are some people that really love what you created, really love your business. And it's the vehicle that helps them provide for their families. It's the vehicle that helps them dream bigger. And then they start pouring in their creativity and their heart. An entrepreneur once said, I don't want their hands, I want their heart. Okay. And that's true for me too. I really don't want your hands. I'm sure you're great at what you do, but how much do you care about what you do? Right? Because I care about it and I care about you. And ultimately, the relationships that you form in your business make the success. The fact of the matter is, when you have an opportunity to really, sometimes it's being a therapist to an employee, or hearing a huge win, like they were able to put a down payment on their first house. And that was because of what you created. So you're literally a creator. But the thing is, I believe, again, defining success is so important. The big commoditized success metric in the home service space is, I want to hit $1 million. And that's awesome, right? I want to hit $1 million. But the thing is that there's a lot of days that have to be won in order to get there. And I think it's actually better to just celebrate those small wins, because they're more valuable anyway. Once you hit the $1 million, it's like, okay, what do I do now? I want to hit $2 million. Okay. Well, I think you need to change what success feels like and just celebrate the daily wins and the small improvements. I'll tell you something like that. I don't know, you might not understand completely, but just see how I celebrate a win. So we've dealt with some cancellations in drip jobs, and this happens in software. It's a normal thing. And we looked into the reason why these cancellations were happening, and we're finding that people sign up, they get excited, and they just don't use the software. And that's because maybe they weren't shown how to use it properly, or they weren't given a walkthrough. And generally speaking, we find that that's usually the case. So I knew this a long time ago. So of course, one of our strategies is to do a free training. We'll free train anybody. Okay. That's just one of our, it's like an investment into making sure our customers are retained and they're winning. So one of the things that I did last week was I spent 4 days putting together an onboarding sequence for brand new Drip Jobs users. So if you sign up for Drip Jobs right now, you're going to experience this. where they receive kind of like an email onboarding course, right? So like the first time they sign up, it'll cover like the booking form feature. The second day, they're going to cover the proposal feature. The fourth day, they'll get like, the pipelines. You get it. So the idea behind that is that maybe someone on the sixth day, when they're thinking, I don't have time to set up drip jobs, or I don't want to meet with the team, or I'm just going to figure this out on my own, or I'm just going to go back to pen and paper. Maybe on the sixth day, they see an email that shows them how awesome the proposal builder is and how they can speed up, their estimating, and how they can present the proposal using the portal. And they might look at that and say, I could really use that feature right now. Okay, I'm going to book the free training. And guess what? We looked at the data. We've had a lot of people sign up for drip jobs, and we have enough data since when I launched that thing last week. And guess what? We're seeing a 60% open rate on every single one of those emails. We're seeing a 10% click rate, which means every time that email is open, 10% of the time they're clicking the link to book the training. And guess what? You know what? If we had 10 people cancel, maybe that goes down to 8. Maybe that goes down to 7, right? So I'm just trying to help you understand that, like, that to me is success, is the small wins, the small victories. Think about it in your painting business. And I can give you another example of how I do it in my painting business. Is I was looking at how many times we were over budget on labor on our jobs. And that means that we're taking a half a day, sometimes even a full day to finish jobs. And really what was happening was there was no one really managing the efficiency of the team, right? So in other words, my model was I would have 4 crews of 3, and those individuals who were in charge of the crew would ultimately be the crew leader and the project manager. Well, I made a change last week too. It was a crazy week, right? I made a change where I actually gave a promotion to 2 of my best employees and made them project managers of 2 jobs at a time. And I can't tell you how amazing it's been so far, having them be a part of 2 jobs only, where they can bounce back and forth between the 2 jobs. They can order the materials for each team. It created a team atmosphere. Now those 2 are collaborating and working together. We're having meetings and we're coming up with problems. Customers are way happier because they have another person they can count on. And that was just a small change that we made. And it's like, again, if my big focus was $1 million or whatever the metric is, it's like, dude, there's just so much that has to happen. It's like, how did you get there? Was it hell or was it smooth? Right. And for me, I just want it to be smooth. I want people to feel like the company's growing. I want people to feel in my business that success important, but it's also the pursuit of giving the best result for your customer. And it's interesting that I have the dynamic of 2 different businesses, right? So I can really understand this principle very well. But at the core of it, success is the pursuit of 1% better. It's the pursuit of creating the best value for your customer in whatever business that you're doing to the highest standard. Because I just want you to know this, and I started this podcast off to let you know that there is the difference between average and great, and it's the people that put the information to action. Okay. It's good to listen to these podcasts. If you've been listening to my podcast for years, some people say, hey, Tanner, I've binged your podcast. Like, that means the world to me. Like, and I'm honored, and I'm just, some guy, man. I'm just like you. Like, I just like helping people. I like giving advice. It makes me feel good. But I would actually prefer you say, Tanner, I listened to like 15 of your best episodes and I shut it off and I put everything into action and I'm ready for more information. Like, that to me is more valuable. Like, so at the end of the day, I hope you got something out of this. I just felt inspired to give you this message today, and I want you to win. So think about what I said. If it was of value to you, find a way to reach out to me. Send me an email, tanner@dripjobs.com. The greatest gift you can give me is your business. I want to earn it though. So go to dripjobs.com, do a demo with our team. You guys can actually kind of backdoor an audit for me. Let me know how they do. Let me know how the demo was. Let me know how the onboarding was. I want to make sure the customer service is up to par. So help me out there. Give me some feedback. Send me an email and be like, dude, The demo was awesome. I felt appreciated. I didn't feel, you know, rushed through in any way, or the onboarding. They were patient, they were kind, they were informative, they know what they're talking about. Like, I want to hear those things because I'm a business owner just like you, right? It would be like your customer giving feedback on your painters, which again, I'm a painting contractor, so I get that too. So anyway, if I can help you in any way, I do free coaching. You've heard this before. If you've ever listened to a business breakthrough, it's just free coaching. It's us jumping on a video call and me listening to your thought process, your standards. Some people tell me I'm not ready or I don't have enough to tell you. Like, dude, like, that's just fear. Like, it's anxiety. It's like, it might be the case, but guess what? I may be able to see an area that you're blind in right now, and I could help you get on another path. You've heard people have breakthroughs on there, and a breakthrough is just I'm breaking through, whatever that barrier is for you. It's like, maybe it'll give you a little confidence. I don't know. I hope I can help you. I hope I can serve you. Thank you for being a part of this. Oh, one more thing. School. Really trying to make a push here, guys. So if you want some really great courses right now, we have the entire Contractor Impact event uploaded on the Contractor Secret School. So I'm going to drop a link in there for you. So if you want to go through, let me tell you something. That was the best online training I've ever been a part of. I mean, the amount of great information in there, up to date information about marketing and sales, and like, every person just crushed it. So you're going to want to be a part of that. And you get a hiring course, and you get a time management course, and you get a sales course, and you get another sales course. So there's like 5 courses that you're going to get access to if you join the Contractor Secret School. I'm also going to be doing live workshops in there. So please check that out if you find that would be valuable. Well, thank you for listening. Have a blessed day. Take care.